Maya Williams rolled her sleek black motorcycle onto the quiet street, hoping a brief ride would clear her mind. The corruption case on her desk had been gnawing at her for weeks, and she needed space to think. Without warning, a commanding voice shattered the calm. "Get off the bike right now, you filthy animal!" Maya barely had time to react before a hand yanked her shoulder, nearly tipping her over. "What are you doing?" she gasped, clutching the handlebar. Officer Daniel Briggs towered over her, eyes full of disdain. "You really expect me to believe this is yours?" he demanded. "Officer, please, I have the registration," Maya replied, reaching into the compartment. Briggs tightened his grip, and his words cut deeper than his hands. "A woman like you doesn't buy a bike like this unless she's stealing for a living." Stunned, Maya could only stare as the neighborhood paused, witnesses hiding behind windows and doors. "I did not steal this," she said, voice trembling. "It's mine. Run the plates. Check the VIN." Briggs laughed coldly. Maya forced herself to breathe. She had faced lawyers, witnesses, and corrupt officials before, but this was different. No courtroom, no bench, no record, just raw confrontation. "I am a federal judge," she said firmly. "My name is Maya Williams. My credentials are in the side compartment." Briggs burst into laughter, mocking her in front of the silent street. "A federal judge, huh? You hear that? She's a federal judge now." Her hands lifted, palms open. "Officer, I am telling you the truth. You are making a serious mistake." His smile vanished as he yanked her hair, dragging her off balance. Pain seared through her scalp and leg as she hit the bike's exhaust. An older woman appeared on a porch, phone raised. "Officer, I'm recording this," she announced. Briggs's eyes flickered toward her before returning to Maya. He twisted her arm behind her back, snapping the cuffs around her wrists. The tow truck rolled onto the street, hooking Maya's motorcycle before she could object. The realization hit her. Briggs was not seeking truth. He was executing a plan. Her mind raced, connecting missing records, unexplained seizures, and money vanishing from her case file. The cruiser door slammed shut, trapping her inside, wrists bound and leg burning. Through the window, she held the image of witnesses who had seen everything. Her determination crystallized. The case that had eluded her control had just revealed its first error. Maya's focus sharpened, pain and fear coiling into resolve. She would not let this injustice pass. The first move of the fight had been made on a quiet street in Brook Haven County, and now, even in cuffs, she was ready to follow the trail wherever it led. By the time Maya arrived at the precinct, her body still throbbed from the street confrontation. Officer Briggs shoved her through the front door, ignoring her requests for medical attention. The smell of stale coffee and cleaning agents filled the air, mingling with tension and whispered speculation among the other officers. Sergeant Red Cole, Briggs's partner, remained silent, eyes fixed ahead as if refusing to witness the cruelty unfolding. Maya explained again, slowly and carefully, that she was a United States District Judge, her credentials on the motorcycle Briggs had unlawfully impounded. Fuller, the desk sergeant, initially reacted with disbelief, but Briggs's overreach was clear. The cuff marks, her burned calf, the forceful shove into the exhaust pipe, all bore witness to the unnecessary escalation. Commander Alan Pierce arrived, his expression calm yet commanding, assessing the scene without words. A young paramedic treated Maya's burns, documenting every injury meticulously at her request. Her legal mind catalogued every detail: the stop, the misused authority, the missing report, the tow truck's precognition, the absence of probable cause. Each moment became evidence, threads in a pattern that tied the street abuse to the corruption file already haunting her docket. Witness statements were recorded, photos were taken, and the body camera footage preserved. Maya sat upright, pain dulling but determination sharpening. She knew the system would try to hide the truth, but the street, the neighbors, the recordings, all became pieces of a growing puzzle. Even through the physical pain, she began plotting, connecting the officer's abuse to the towing company, Ridgeway, and to the missing reports that had puzzled her for weeks. By the time she left the precinct, the sun was low, casting golden light across municipal buildings. The first steps toward exposing the broader corruption had begun, and Maya Williams, bruised, burned, and determined, was already thinking 5 moves ahead, aware that the fight for justice would stretch far beyond that quiet street where it all started. That evening, Maya returned home, her leg bandaged and wrist still bruised. She sat at the kitchen table with Evelyn Carter, reviewing the red-pinned map of Brook Haven County, each mark representing a vehicle unjustly seized. Her legal pad filled with notes. Briggs, Ridgway, no report, Patton. Each word linked the street abuse to a larger systematic exploitation. Calls to the FBI confirmed suspicions. No legitimate theft report existed before her arrest. Evan Cole, the young officer who had witnessed Briggs, remained in protective custody, his partial log export confirming premeditated towing assignments. Maya's pulse steadied as she pieced together the chain. Ridgway Towing held exclusive contracts, receiving advance notice of high-value vehicles, officers complicit in selecting targets, and county officials silently approving. Night deepened. Rain tapped against the windows as she and the agents coordinated to preserve server records before the scheduled maintenance sweep could erase digital evidence. Every step, every delay was critical. Her kitchen became a command center, stacks of files and maps illuminated by pale yellow light. Maya's burned leg throbbed, but she moved with purpose, eyes scanning the corridor of red pins, connecting human impact to procedural corruption. Commands flowed between agents. Computers hummed, secure lines recorded conversations with Cole. Each data point became a thread weaving together officers, Ridgway, and county oversight. The storm outside mirrored the urgency within. Ordinary houses, quiet streets, unaware of the corruption unraveling beneath them. By the early hours, the forensic mirror of the county server was secured. Jonah Price confirming logs untouched by deletion. Maya reviewed every entry, timestamps, assigned officers, recovery potential, judicial risk. She understood now. They targeted her deliberately, aware of her status, but confident enough to proceed. By dawn, the first federal actions were in motion. Agents moved on Ridgway Towing, Harlan Data, and county offices, evidence in hand. Maya stood by the window, exhausted but alert, watching sunlight spill over wet lawns. Across the street, porch lights glowed in quiet acts of resilience. For the first time, the pattern she had chased for weeks had a tangible beginning. A line from street to office, from burned leg to federal investigation. The first fight had been physical, but now it was legal, structured, and unstoppable. Maya Williams had turned pain into strategy, trauma into clarity. Justice was no longer abstract. It was a path illuminated by evidence, witnesses, and unflinching resolve. And she would follow it, wherever it led. By mid-morning, Maya Williams had coordinated with Special Agents Ellis and Monroe to trace the sequence of unlawful vehicle seizures. Her kitchen table was strewn with affidavits, invoices, and spreadsheets, each document connecting Ridgway Towing to prearranged stops along Meridian Avenue, East Chapel Road, and County Route 19. Evelyn Carter, still present, sifted through affidavits from residents whose vehicles had been seized, noting the fear in their testimonies. Maya's burned leg throbbed, her wrists ached, but her mind operated with surgical precision. Every stop, every tow, every missing report was a calculated move, a piece of a systemic pattern that targeted vulnerable citizens and high-value vehicles with impunity. The agents confirmed Cole's partial log. Ridgway had been notified before the official stop times, the officer assignments pre-selected, and recovery potential estimated. The scale of the scheme became undeniable. By noon, the legal strategy was clear. Preserve digital evidence before any scheduled maintenance could wipe server records, document all physical evidence, and secure witness statements. Every detail mattered: the timestamps, the metadata, the correspondence between Ridgway and Harlan Data, the fraudulent case numbers. Maya, Evelyn, Ellis, and Monroe worked in quiet coordination, aware that each passing moment allowed those responsible to manipulate, conceal, or destroy critical information. Outside, the rain intensified, tapping on windows as if urging them forward. Maya's hands moved steadily, cataloging evidence, planning the sequence of federal intervention, and preparing for the inevitable confrontation with Sheriff Whitmore and the officers implicated. She was no longer just a victim. She had become the architect of a response that would expose the system's rot and bring accountability where fear had reigned. The first layer of the corruption had been revealed on the street. The second layer was now unfolding in her dining room, illuminated by the yellow glow of lamplight and the resolve of a woman determined to turn injustice into evidence. As night approached, Maya and the agents coordinated their plan to secure Ridgway Towing and Harlan data before further evidence could be destroyed. Maya stayed in the unmarked car across the street, her burned leg wrapped tightly, every muscle taut with anticipation. Monroe and Ellis approached the gates, badges visible, questioning anyone on the lot. Ridgway's owner, Grant Harron, attempted to maintain composure behind the office counter, smiling too broadly, hands spread in feigned confusion. Maya observed everything from a distance. Rows of impounded vehicles, vans, SUVs, and her motorcycle near the back fence, illuminated under sodium lights. The agents returned with a troubling report. The impound office had been cleared, cabinets emptied, computers removed. Someone had acted before federal intervention. Maya's pulse quickened as she instructed them to search through trash and discarded materials. People in a hurry often overlooked the remnants of documents, which could provide critical leads. Secure communications with FBI cyber analysts confirmed partial backups of logs existed, revealing premeditated assignments, officer participation, and pre-approved towing operations. Maya traced the movement, identifying digital footprints back to Sergeant Keene, Briggs, Lam Price, and 2 administrative accounts under Sheriff Whitmore's login. Each piece confirmed what her intuition had suspected: the scheme was deliberate, organized, and protected by official authority. She leaned against the car, rain dampening her hair and coat, realizing the extent of what they were up against. The corruption was not isolated. It was systematic, a family of convenience, officers enforcing the contract, county systems manipulated, and a powerful contractor reaping profit while the public remained blind. Maya's resolve hardened. Every misstep, every injury, every observation she had made would become evidence. The night had revealed the layers of the operation, and by morning, the first federal actions would strike at the core of the network. Starting with records, then testimony, then accountability. Her mind replayed Briggs's shove, the burn, the laughter, the tow truck. She transformed pain into focus, trauma into strategy. Justice was no longer reactive. It was deliberate, precise, and imminent. And she would ensure that those who had assumed impunity would face the consequences of their actions, meticulously, legally, and with witnesses and evidence that could not be ignored. By the early hours, Maya's house had transformed into a command center. Rain pattered against the windows while she, Evelyn Carter, and the agents tracked every movement connected to Ridgway Towing. Jonah Price, the FBI cyber analyst, connected via video call, confirmed the mirrored off-site backups had preserved crucial data. Maya studied each folder: route productivity logs, officer assignments, estimated recovery values, and judicial risk notes. Her motorcycle's file appeared, indicating it had been marked as high-value, professional risk, and to avoid courthouse exposure. Every step had been calculated. Briggs and others had known enough to proceed, but not enough to anticipate exposure. Maya's pulse steadied. She instructed agents on the next move: verify metadata, preserve server state, and secure any remaining documents. By dawn, federal teams moved on Ridgway, Harlan data, and the county sheriff's office. Agents confirmed Grant Harron had attempted to destroy files, but the off-site mirror saved most records. Maya reviewed recovered spreadsheets, invoices, and internal emails, linking officers and administrators to illicit towing and asset forfeiture schemes. Each notation revealed coordination: Ridgway notified in advance, recovery potential calculated, officers compensated. By 7 a.m., federal action had halted further destruction and a preliminary investigation was underway. Maya, exhausted yet unwavering, assessed the red-pinned map, tracing corridors of abuse from Meridian Avenue to County Route 19. Every pin represented a vehicle, a violation, and a story. The first layer of systemic corruption had been exposed, and Maya's meticulous documentation, combined with witness testimony and preserved digital evidence, ensured that the next phase, legal accountability, would be unstoppable. Pain from her burn and bruised wrists had faded into background resolve. She had transformed physical suffering into strategic clarity, understanding that justice required patience, precision, and unflinching vigilance. Today, the fight for accountability would shift from observation to legal pursuit, and Maya Williams was ready to carry it forward. By mid-morning, Maya coordinated with Special Agents Ellis and Monroe to retrieve the evidence from Ridgway Towing. The unmarked sedan parked across the lot offered her a vantage point. Rows of vehicles, including her motorcycle, under the harsh glow of sodium lights. Maya studied the lot through rain-streaked windows, noting the precise placement of trucks and SUVs, the impound tags, and the systematic organization of Ridgway's fleet. She understood that each vehicle was not just property. It was a calculated target, selected based on officer directives, recovery potential, and, in her case, judicial risk. Monroe and Ellis moved quietly inside, their badges visible, questioning employees while maintaining legal authority. Maya monitored movements from a distance, noting the owner, Grant Harron, attempting to manage the scene with practiced ease. Inside, cabinets had been cleared, computers removed, and files destroyed, a preemptive strike against accountability. Maya instructed her team to search through trash bins, discarded materials, and off-site logs, knowing human error in haste often left traces. Through secure channels, Jonah Price confirmed partial backups had survived, showing pre-arranged towing assignments, officer participation, and the high-value vehicles targeted, including her motorcycle. Metadata confirmed directions from Sergeant Keene, Briggs, Liam Price, and administrative accounts linked to Sheriff Whitmore. Maya's strategy was methodical: document, preserve, and coordinate. Every step, every observation, every recovery from partial records was evidence of systemic corruption. Rain continued to fall, matching the tension, as she transformed the trauma from Meridian Avenue into focused, strategic action. By the time agents returned to the sedan, Maya had a clear map of Ridgway's operational network, the corridors of abuse, and the digital breadcrumbs left by corrupt officers. She realized the fight would be measured in patience, precision, and courage, not speed. The first strike against the entrenched corruption had been executed, and Maya Williams, burned, bruised, but resolute, was prepared to follow the evidence wherever it led. By late morning, Maya convened with Agents Ellis and Monroe at her kitchen table, analyzing the recovered data from Ridgway and Harlan data. Every folder, spreadsheet, and invoice painted a picture of calculated corruption. Officers selecting high-value vehicles, Ridgway notified before stops, recovery potential assessed, and administrative approval through Sheriff Whitmore's office. Maya's motorcycle file revealed the calculated risk the perpetrators took. Her judicial status noted, yet ignored. The rain outside mirrored the tension inside. Each drop on the windows punctuated her thoughts as she mapped corridors of abuse from Meridian Avenue to County Route 19. They confirmed that several documents had been removed prematurely, but off-site backups preserved critical evidence. Maya instructed agents to cross-reference physical impound sheets with digital logs, linking officers, tow assignments, and recovery outcomes. Evelyn Carter assisted, reviewing affidavits from victims, noting the human impact of these systemic violations. By noon, the evidence formed a clear narrative. Ridgway, Harron, and complicit officers had orchestrated a premeditated campaign of seizures, falsified documentation, and intimidation, all while maintaining a facade of legality. Maya's focus sharpened with every detail. The pattern revealed not only individual misconduct, but a coordinated system of abuse, protected by official authority and fear. Her burned leg and bruised wrists faded into background pain as she prepared for the next phase: legal action that would bring accountability. Every piece of data, every witness statement, every recovered file became a thread weaving together the web of corruption. Maya knew the battle ahead would require patience, precision, and unwavering commitment. But the foundation had been laid, and the first cracks in the corrupt structure were now visible and actionable. By early afternoon, Maya and the agents had established a clear operational map of Ridgway Towing and its ties to Brook Haven County law enforcement. They documented officer patterns, tow assignments, and financial flows, confirming the systematic nature of the scheme. Cole's statements and the recovered partial logs confirmed premeditation. Vehicles were targeted, high-value assessments made, judicial risk noted, and actions coordinated in advance. Maya reviewed each red pin on her county map, linking individual victims to stops and seizures, noting repeated officer involvement. She instructed Monroe and Ellis to verify metadata and corroborate physical evidence with digital backups, ensuring every fact could withstand scrutiny. Outside, rain had ceased, leaving streets wet and quiet, contrasting with the calculated chaos uncovered inside. Maya's focus never wavered. She connected dots between Ridgway, Harron, and complicit officers, tracing patterns that highlighted coordinated abuse of power. The strategy was precise: secure evidence, document human impact, and prepare for federal intervention. By late afternoon, preliminary findings were summarized. Pre-arranged stops, backdated or falsified reports, and coordination with administrative accounts to mask illegal activity. Each detail reinforced the narrative of systemic corruption. Maya's determination was unshakable. The fight had evolved from immediate street-level injustice to a broader federal investigation capable of addressing deep-seated misconduct. Every victim, every file, every pin on the map became a testament to the necessity of accountability. She paced the dining room, mapping out the next steps, aware that the success of the federal case relied on meticulous evidence preservation, strategic witness engagement, and careful sequencing of actions to prevent further destruction of records. Maya Williams, though bruised and fatigued, now wielded clarity and control, transforming personal trauma into a blueprint for justice. By late afternoon, Maya's kitchen table was covered with documents, printouts, and maps showing every corridor of Ridgway's operations. She reviewed Cole's testimony, invoices, and server logs alongside Monroe and Ellis, confirming a meticulously organized scheme. Each data point, high-value vehicle, prearranged tow, officer participation, judicial risk, painted a portrait of systemic corruption. Maya's motorcycle was just one piece of a larger puzzle. Every victim's story revealed the human cost of the exploitation. She cross-referenced timestamps and metadata, ensuring each fact could withstand scrutiny in federal court. Evelyn Carter meticulously read through affidavits, highlighting patterns of intimidation and fear among residents. Maya's burned leg throbbed, wrist still bruised, but she remained focused, transforming personal injury into strategic resolve. The agents coordinated legal steps, preserving digital and physical evidence, ensuring no gaps remained. By evening, preliminary federal action had been completed, Ridgway's offices secured, data preserved, and the corrupt network identified. Maya charted next steps, gathering witness statements, preparing for grand jury presentations, and planning for potential obstruction attempts. Rain fell softly outside, but inside the kitchen, determination burned brighter. Maya's mind raced through sequences, cross-referencing evidence with human impact, ensuring each piece reinforced the case against Ridgway, Harron, and complicit officers. She understood that patience and meticulous documentation would be essential for lasting accountability. As night approached, the red penned map glowed under the lamplight, a visual representation of the system they had uncovered and the strategy required to dismantle it. Maya, though exhausted, remained resolute. The fight for justice was far from over, but clarity, evidence, and courage now guided the path forward. As night deepened, Maya and the federal agents continued analyzing the recovered records and logs. The mirrored off-site backups revealed premeditated assignments, officer collusion, and the sequence of high-value vehicle seizures. Each spreadsheet, each timestamp, each officer notation painted a clear narrative. Ridgway Towing had been alerted in advance, recovery potential calculated, and the judicial risk assessed, including Maya herself. Evelyn Carter cross-referenced affidavits from victims, highlighting the emotional and practical impact of each seizure. Maya connected digital evidence with physical observations, the impounded vehicles, the backdated reports, and the forged documentation, creating a comprehensive map of systemic corruption. She paced the kitchen, legs still throbbing from the burn, but determination steeled every step. The team prepared federal filings, preservation orders, and witness statements, ensuring nothing could be hidden or destroyed. Maya reviewed every email and digital log, linking Ridgway, Harron, and complicit officers to coordinated misconduct, backed by metadata and timestamps. The map of red pins glowed under the lamp, each representing a victim, a stop, a calculated abuse. Maya felt a grim satisfaction. The layers of corruption had been exposed, The plan for accountability was taking shape. By midnight, secure communications confirmed all digital evidence had been preserved, witnesses documented, and initial federal intervention completed. Maya, exhausted yet resolute, knew that the groundwork laid tonight would transform personal trauma into legal authority, bringing justice to Brook Haven County, one documented step at a time. By early morning, Maya's war room was quiet but tense. Rain had stopped, leaving wet streets reflecting pale light. The team reviewed every detail: Ridgway's pre-planned tows, backdated reports, officer participation, and digital timestamps. Maya's motorcycle, marked as high value and judicial risk, symbolized both personal violation and evidence. Evan Cole's testimony confirmed advanced knowledge and premeditation by officers and administrators. Each red pin on the county map represented a pattern of abuse: Meridian Avenue, East Chapel Road, County Route 19. Maya instructed federal agents to secure remaining physical and digital evidence, cross-checking metadata with affidavits to ensure accuracy. Every item documented, the invoices, tow assignments, server logs, added layers of proof for federal prosecution. She noted the human toll: displaced families, stolen vehicles, lost trust. Every observation reinforced the legal narrative. By mid-morning, federal teams had executed preservation orders, collected remaining logs, and verified off-site backups. Maya coordinated with Monroe and Ellis to prepare witness statements, ensure the chain of custody, and plan grand jury submissions. The red-pinned map expanded, showing the scale of Ridgway's operation, revealing how calculated and extensive the systemic corruption had become. Maya, bruised and bandaged but undeterred, transformed her personal injury into strategy, knowing meticulous preparation was essential. The first layer of accountability had been implemented, but the larger fight, legal proceedings, grand jury, public exposure, was now underway, and Maya Williams was ready to guide it, one carefully documented step at a time. By mid-morning, the federal team had secured all critical evidence, but Maya knew the operation was far from over. Ridgway's corridors of seized vehicles were mapped meticulously, and each officer's participation documented. The digital backups confirmed pre-arranged towing assignments, the targeted selection of high-value vehicles, and careful coordination to avoid exposure for judicial risk, including Maya herself. Cole's detailed account corroborated the sequence of actions and the complicity of supervisors and administrators. Maya studied each red pin, representing victims whose lives had been disrupted, vehicles unjustly impounded, charges falsely filed, and families intimidated. The team cross-referenced server logs, invoices, and affidavits, ensuring that metadata and timestamps matched physical evidence. Evelyn Carter verified witness accounts, highlighting the human cost of systematic corruption. By noon, the agents had established a secure chain of custody, preserving every document, digital file, and witness statement. Maya's kitchen, still humming with quiet activity, served as the nerve center for strategic decisions, legal filings, grand jury preparations, and planning the next phase of federal action. Every step was calculated, every observation became part of the narrative that would dismantle Ridgway's operation. Though her leg burned and her wrists throbbed from prior injuries, Maya maintained her focus, transforming physical pain into unwavering resolve. By afternoon, the first federal interventions were coordinated with precision, and Maya could see the patterns of abuse clearly, readying herself for testimony, cross-examination, and ensuring justice would be delivered with careful, meticulous authority. By late afternoon, Maya Williams prepared for the federal grand jury and impending courtroom testimony. Every pin on her map, every spreadsheet entry, every witness statement had been verified and cross-referenced. The scope of Ridgway Towing's coordinated corruption was fully documented. Officers pre-selecting high-value vehicles, pre-arranged notifications, manipulated recovery potential, and judicial risk intentionally ignored. Maya reviewed the timeline of her motorcycle seizure, the street abuse, the burns, the cuffs, and the tow documentation, aligning each moment with digital evidence. Cole's testimony, preserved and corroborated, reinforced the narrative of systemic misconduct. Evelyn Carter confirmed that each witness affidavit matched observed patterns, emphasizing the human cost: disrupted lives, displaced vehicles, and widespread intimidation. Maya coordinated final preparations with agents Ellis and Monroe, witness statements organized, metadata validated, and presentation materials structured to demonstrate intent, collusion, and abuse of authority. By evening, the evidence was consolidated into a coherent narrative for federal submission, detailing Ridgway, Harron, complicit officers, and the county's administrative complicity. Maya, exhausted yet resolute, focused on the next steps, protecting witnesses, ensuring the chain of custody, and preparing her own testimony. Each detail, each connection, and each documented violation reinforced the path to accountability. The battle had evolved from a personal street-level encounter into a systemic federal investigation, and Maya Williams, despite pain and fatigue, had transformed her trauma into a precise instrument of justice. The foundation was laid, the final confrontation with the perpetrators and the law itself was imminent. The day of the federal trial arrived, and Maya Williams entered the courtroom not as presiding judge, but as a witness and advocate for accountability. Her leg was healed enough to walk steadily, and the faded marks on her wrists served as reminders of the events that had brought her here. Evelyn Carter, Harold Benton, Denise Mallory, and others who had endured Ridgway's predatory seizures filled the gallery, each silently bearing the weight of injustice. The defendants, Briggs, Whitmore, Keene, Grant Harron, and Peter Harland, sat at the table, pale and tense, stripped of uniforms and false authority. Assistant U.S. Attorney Leah Ramsey presented the evidence. Detailed logs, correspondence, pre-arranged towing assignments, and metadata confirming officer collusion. Each victim's testimony illustrated the human cost of the operation. Maya recounted her own experience clearly and calmly, highlighting the abuse of authority, the premeditation, and the targeting of her motorcycle. She emphasized that no title, badge, or office should shield wrongdoing from accountability. The jury listened intently as the evidence, the spreadsheets, the affidavits, and video recordings collectively revealed a pattern of corruption that had harmed ordinary citizens and exploited systemic vulnerabilities. After deliberation, the jury returned verdicts of guilty on all counts for the defendants. Maya and the victims watched as justice, slow but deliberate, was enforced. Restitution was ordered, contracts voided, and oversight mandated. Outside, the autumn light fell softly on Brook Haven County, ordinary streets unchanged, yet subtly altered by the affirmation that truth and courage could overcome systemic abuse. Maya looked at the community around her, witnessing the first tangible restoration of dignity. Later, with her motorcycle returned and scars both physical and emotional acknowledged, she reflected on the journey, from pain on Meridian Avenue to federal conviction. Justice had been measured, meticulous, and unwavering. She turned off the garage light, leaving her bike not just as property, but as a symbol. Justice belongs to those who refuse to look away. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this video.